The question is, in life, we face with many circumstances, and each circumstance has many possible choices, decisions to be made, and actions to be taken. And of course, we cannot live without actions. In this context, how do we understand God's will and my will? See, that's only God's will all the time. Okay, my will is an illusion. The God as a universal consciousness operates through all living mechanisms, living bodies, and functions. Thinking, feeling, emotions, everything is the appearing from consciousness and dissolving in consciousness. Now, in between, there is a sense of me appears. That's also God's will. It's the ego. Now, identification with the ego leads to thoughts of past and future. The ego always lives based on the past or future, worries and fears. So the point here is ego. It's ultimately ego will choose something. With the identification, the ego will choose something, and that choice will lead us to some consequences. We have to face it. So if you understand everything is God's will, then even with ego-based choice, we'll understand it's God's will. Then whatever happens, we accept it, the consequences we accept it. Everything is God's will, the mind will be peaceful. Right now the conflict is coming, my will versus God's will, and my will is this, and tomorrow I want something favorable to happen. So what I wish should be favorable should be happen to me. So from the universal point of view, everything what is required for your evolution will happen. So you may consider as favorable or unfavorable, but for your evolution, what is required, God will provide. That's God's will. So the question is whether you are able to accept it calmly, peacefully, and work on your evolution, or constantly worry about it, or be stressed about it. Worry and stress comes from the ego. Acceptance of the situation and surrendering to God will free you from all suffering. Every consequence will lead to evolution. Every consequence or every decision we made will help you to evolve rather than suffer. So ego-based thinking will always lead to suffering, whereas surrender and acceptance will free you from the suffering. What is acceptance? Whatever is God is doing for me is for my evolution, my welfare. If that understanding is there, the mind will be peaceful and calm. Otherwise, we are classifying life as raga, dvesha. I like this, I don't like this, I'm uncomfortable. So that actually is the disturbance, not the circumstance itself, not the consequence itself. Is it clear?
Yeah, Prabhuji. So if every
So, see, we have an illusion of my will and thy will, my will and God's will. In reality, who claims my will? A claimer is ego. It is not a real entity, it's a pseudo entity, false entity. The claim of false entity is false only. When you dip a stick into water, the stick appears to be bent. Is really stick bent? Stick is not bent. It appears to be split and bent at a midpoint. That's because of a refraction of water. Stick is not bent. One stick appears to be a bent stick, straight stick. Similarly, God's will appears to be bent as ego's will, and God's will appears to be. In reality, it is not so. It's only God's will which is there all the time. It is apparent in all of your actions. Can you think? Thinking is happening. Can you lift your hand? Hand is lifted with the blood flow into the hand, brain functioning, heart functioning, liver functioning, all are functioning of God. God's will only functions. Then ego appears to be a distortion because of Maya. Ego is just a claimer, it's not a doer. There's no reality for the ego. Now, because ego is claimer, for the claimer, karma and karma phala comes. Prabdha karma and all karma phala comes. For the claimer. Now, this is also a God's play. God enters into human being and experiences life, forgetting its own nature. It is like, that's called Jivatma. Jivatma is nothing but Jiva is nothing but Ishvara. Ishvara enters into the body in the form of Chidabhasa and plays the role of a Jiva, forgetting his true nature. So now all experience in life, joy, sorrow, happiness, unhappiness, is to awaken the Jiva Ishvara Ekatva, oneness. That is the purpose of all experience in life. But in this forgetfulness, experiences are taken as suffering, raga, dvesha, because of forgetfulness. So this is actually creates further karma. Now, to come out of that, God only provides all circumstances. All circumstances are God's will, and they are there for awakening your true nature, the self. Once you accept it, understand and accept it, God's will, life is very smooth. Everything is happening God's will, and God only within me is creating a circumstance for me to awaken to my true nature. What is true nature? Jiva Ishvara Ekatva. So this understanding is there, life will be a smooth flow. Now this understanding is interfered by the ego. Ego claims, no, this is good, this is, I like this, I don't like this. This should not happen. So that ego's wills, ego's whims and fancies, raga and dvesha, have no value in the universal level. Universe gives the value to ego's whims and fancies in the form of karma, karma phala, joy and suffering. That's again, karma phala is not a punishment, it's a learning mechanism. Gradually, there's a smooth understanding, and jiva wakes up to its Ishwaratva. That's the meaning of Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. So circumstances in life provide for that awakening. This is to be understood, and for that unconscious evolution will happen for a long time. Many lifetimes unconscious evolution will happen. Jiva is suffering. Through suffering it starts learning and trying to wake up. Finally, Jiva gets an opportunity because of good karma done. Jiva gets an opportunity to meet a Sadguru who teaches Jiva Ishvara Ekatvam and about the nature of will of God and nature of karma, law of karma. With that jnana, Jiva realizes oneness with Ishvara. Every circumstance in your life, every situation in life is designed for awakening by Ishvara, including the suffering. Is the answer clear?
Like, don't see it as.
When we say in Vedanta, Sarvam Khalu Brahma, all this is Brahman. Okay? Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. What it means is that other than God, nothing is there. So this is like a saying, God is only appearing as everything, including Jivatma. Okay? That appearance, like a stick dipped in water, appears to be bent. Life appears to be split between my will and thy will, God's will and my will. But in reality, it is not so. In reality, the stick is not bent. There's a distortion in our perception. So God will provide all the circumstances to correct our perception. Every situation in life, every small situation in your life is a message from God to wake up call. Now most of the time, we don't wake up. We find fault with the situation. This should happen, this should not happen. This person is responsible for my suffering. Like that we start looking at life. Instead of correcting the perception about the stick as a straight, we try to correct the stick which is bent. Stick is never bent actually. So our perception has to be corrected with the understanding and teaching given by Guru. That is life. What is happening? There's only God is the doer, God is the enjoyer, God is the knower. But the ego is the claimer. It is like a stick dipped in water. Stick dipped in water appears to be bent. Really, it is not bent. It's straight. There is no individual will and God's will. It's only God's will which operates all the time. But ego claims that my will is operating. This I like, this I don't like. Raga, Dvesha. This situation is favorable, this situation is not favorable. That's the individual will. So Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, God is the only knower, the doer, enjoyer. I am not the doer, I am not the knower, I am not the enjoyer. Naham karta, naham bhokta, naham data. Then somebody asked Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, why there is evil in the world? So Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, evil is there because the individual will appears to be real. And operating through guna, tamo guna, the evil is performed. So now God keeps a law of karma for bringing back sanity into that ego. Karma and karma phala will keep coming until real understanding emerges. Real understanding is the stick is never bent. Stick is always straight. The bent is only perception. So all circumstances of life are designed for correcting our perception, pointing us to reality, realizing our own true self. So every situation is a blessing coming from God, a gift from God. So this understanding initially is not there. It's unconscious journey. In that unconscious journey, learning cycle is long. It takes long time to learn. That's why Sri Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, many lifetimes will take. Then, because of good karma, Guru comes into your life, the teaching will speed up. More and more clarity emerges. The learning cycle reduces. It's like saying, I want to learn cycling by myself. It takes a long time. If somebody is there who has learned cycling, is able to help you, the cycling time will reduce. So Guru will help you to recognize true self within you, to realize that there is no two will, there's only one will of God all the time. Is it clear? So there are two ways of learning life, unconscious learning and conscious learning. Unconscious learning is long way, trying to learn a cycling by yourself. Conscious learning is trying to learn the cycling under the guidance of a competent cyclist. So conscious learning will speeden your cycle. Similarly, a presence of a guru will speed up your evolution. Circumstance will be same, but understanding and learning from the circumstance will be different. So that makes a difference. Every understanding and learning is for evolution. So what happens is all our discussions are based on the perception. Water appears as wave, bubble and foam. We can keep on discussing wave, bubble and foam, but water is the only reality. Similarly, understand God's will is the only reality. So then surrender to that God's will, grace will open up. Infinite grace showers on your life. So that surrender and acceptance is what you have to learn from every circumstance in life. See, life is a continuous flow. Okay? Life is constantly changing. Okay? But we don't want life to change. We want life to be stationary. And we want life to bring favorable circumstances. We want to avoid unfavorable circumstances. So both will not solve the problem because life moves on. Life is a continuous flow. In the flow of life, we don't have choices, but we have a choice in understanding that The flow of life is nothing flow of consciousness, God. So flow of life, the changing provides an opportunity to realize the unchanging behind that change, pointing to your own true self. So the unconscious learning, where you are trying to explore. First of all, there's no purpose. You're trying to survive. In the process of survival, some ups and downs will come, suffer. So karma will be created. Eventually, you'll come to conscious learning. The conscious learning will help you the same circumstance in a different perspective. Circumstance will not change, but your perspective will change, and perspective changes your karma, perspective changes your jnana. Perception doesn't change, please understand. Perception doesn't change, but perspective changes. In rope and snake analogy, the perception of snake doesn't change, but perspective changes. Oh, rope is behind that. So that makes a difference in life. Behind every circumstance, what is the perspective you have? Is God is the perspective, or name and form is the perspective? That makes a difference. Most of the time we are stuck with superficial name and forms. When God becomes the perspective, God is everywhere, the life will change and life will be full of grace. Somebody sees a ghost in the tree and he is afraid. That's a perception, not a reality. But some guru comes and teaches him there's no ghost, there's only tree there. Then his perspective changes. Now he's not afraid. The perception doesn't change, perspective changes. So life has changed. So similarly, all circumstances of life, the moment perspective changes, the moment perspective changes, experience of life changes. That experience of life is called grace.